I truly cannot believe we're in this situation again. And I said that last video. In a game 6, I figured that was a big deal. But here we are. Leafs lost again. Another game 7, another first round, another disappointment. But this one, and I can tell you for a fact, amongst Leafs Nation, this is going to be a unanimous feeling. This one stings the most. 100%. People think Boston was a big deal in 2013. I still find it funny that people still bring that up. Yeah, the Leafs blew a 4-1 lead in the third period of a series they should have never been in. I mean, in 2013, the team sucked. They pushed a Boston team to 7 games. People should have been ragging on the Bruins for even letting that happen and being down 4-1. Whatever, we lost. This team, I truly thought they could do it. I did. And I don't know if that's, well, clearly it is my fault. It's my fault. And it's all of our faults for truly thinking it. Those of us who did. We're going to have a real deep conversation here. And I don't know to what capacity I'm going to do it in this video. Changes need to happen. Big changes. The big 4, 1, 2, few of them are gone. They have to. If the 4 of those guys make it back here next year, I won't be happy. And I can't believe I'm saying that. I've got all their jerseys. I've been supporting them all along. I've been supporting their deals all along. Kyle Dubas, I think, learned a really big lesson here. Really big. I don't think Kyle was wrong in giving them the contracts they got, but we now know that clearly you don't give a big contract to someone that hasn't earned it. Because what have these guys done to earn it? The only one I would say who has earned it is John Tavares, and that's for his efforts before he came to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Throughout his entire tenure in New York, he earned that contract. Austin Matthews earns it in the regular season, not the playoffs. Mitch Marner earns it in the regular season, not the playoffs. William Nylander, the guy that everybody's given shit to for the past 5-6 years, by far the best player, worth his contract in the playoffs, but still not good enough. I mean, you're paying $40 million on 4 players on your offense, and you can't score a goal. I mean, we look back to the series last year in Columbus. They got shut out once, if not twice. I'm pretty sure Frederik Andersen had like a .940 or a .950 save percentage, and they still lost. So at what point do we stop giving them the benefit of the doubt and move on? And it's today. It's right now. It is not acceptable any longer. Kyle Dubas did everything in his power. Really, truly everything. Like I cannot see anything that he did wrong. People can say those contracts. At the time, I didn't think it was a bad idea. In hindsight, it clearly hasn't worked out. But this year, he's literally bent over backwards, pretty much cheating the system of the salary cap to make this team as competitive as they became. He gave this team everything that they needed and everything that they wanted. And this team gave him nothing back. You can't keep Kyle Dubas responsible for this. It's not his fault. But I'm looking at him now to make some big moves in the offseason. Like I said, those big guys, they can't be back. Morgan Rielly was here in 2013. I don't know if he can be back going into an expiring deal year last year on his contract. You got to sign Hyman. Are you going to overpay for him? I would argue probably he's worth whatever money, but it's got to be reasonable because he hasn't earned it yet. Hasn't won a series. I mean, I truly don't know where to go from here. And this is so depressing to me. I mean, I really thought that 2013 was a low point. I really did. Like, that was as bad about anything as I've ever felt in my life. And this trumps it by a million. Like I said, the Toronto Maple Leafs had no business being in the playoffs in 2013. They were the hands-down favorite in this series. I even gave them a pass in 2017. They made the playoffs. Nobody expected them to. Pushed the Capitals to 6 and lost. 2018 and 2019, the Boston Bruins were the better team both years. Going into that series, they had home ice advantage in both series. They were expected to win, and they won in 7 both series. Columbus was the first sign that was like, something's not right here. Because the Leafs should have won that. And they couldn't score a goal. And you go, okay, well, Jake Muzzin gets hurt. They're in a bubble, must be tough. Even though the bubble was at their home rink. That was a sign. And so Kyle Dubas then goes out and acquires all these perfect players for the team in the offseason. Players that I thought were filling voids that we completely had and made us such a strong team. He goes out at the trade deadline and acquires Foligno and Nash and Hutton. Guys that can fill out this roster. Most importantly, guys that support the big guys. Guys that will be able to help push the likes of Matthews and Marner. And instead, we got nothing from any of them. It's time. This year, there was no excuse. John Tavares gets hurt, no excuse. They won 3 games without him. Jake Muzzin gets hurt, no excuse. You've got depth. I truly, truly don't know what to think right now. And what's disappointing to me as well is the fact that we had such a fantastic regular season and nobody in Leafs Nation got to enjoy it in person. And instead, we get to sit at our houses watching on TV, gearing up for these playoffs that we know it's finally going to happen. The Leafs break the curse. They win their first series since 2004. And they can't do it. To a team that struggled to score and still outscored a $40 million offense of the Toronto Maple Leafs. The only player they couldn't outscore was William Nylander, who apparently is the softest player on the Leafs, but I thought he played great. I do. If I were to pick one of the 4 guys to stay, it's probably Nylander. He's got the best contract, and he's the only one that showed up. John Tavares is a tough situation because he's been hurt. But what do? You got JT, who came here as a free agent and has a no-move clause. You've got Austin Matthews, who is, without him, are we scoring in the regular season? He's fantastic in the regular season. But where was he in the playoffs? Mitch Marner played great as a defensive player. You can get someone even more effective as a defensive player for $2 million, and we're paying that guy close to $11. You got William Nylander, who's probably got the most expendable contract and movable contract of the bunch, but he's the only one that showed up to play. So what kind of signal does it show if you move on from him and keep all the guys that couldn't perform? I truly don't know what Kyle Dubas is supposed to do here. He did everything right. And he's got this Herculean task now to fix it again with no real plausible solution in front of us other than tear it down. Now, I'm sure I'll go into a full nother video at some point about projecting what next year's roster could be and my thoughts on what we should do. But as of right now, I'm thinking tear it down. Maybe not completely. I mean, you've got good pieces. Next year, you've got entry-level contracts in the like of Nicholas Robertson. You got Rasmus Sandin still on his way up. Timothy Liljegren. Adam Brooks. You got guys coming in. Who's around them? It can't be the same guys. It can't. I'm sorry. I really, really wish I weren't saying this. But enough's enough. It's been 5 years of the same story. The same story. I thought our biggest advantage coming into this season was not the acquisitions that we made in the offseason or at the deadline. It was the maturity of our younger players. The fact that Matthews, Marner, and Nylander have gone through this before. They've learned how to play in the playoffs. They know how to play in the playoffs, and they can perform better in the playoffs. And 5 years later, 1 goal between Matthews and Marner. That's it? You can't keep giving them a shot. You can't. It frustrates me that we acquire the likes of a Nick Foligno, and you can't blame him for getting hurt, but that was now turned out to be a terrible deal. Lasted us 10 games maybe, and not a single goal. Some points, didn't really throw his body around. Joe Thornton in potentially his last season in the NHL. If you're not going to give him a cup, give him a sniff. Or give him some effort, you know? Play like you want to play for him. Everybody talks about Joe Thornton being this guy in the locker room that everybody loves. Didn't look like they cared to play for him. Austin Matthews, you've got plenty of years in the NHL ahead of you. Joe's done. Joe's gone through way more than you have, and you couldn't pick up your play at all for him. The third line, what did they do? I mean, the defensive group, they're so much better than last year, and still so far away from being what a cup contender needs. Jack Campbell stood on his head, and I know that the storyline coming out of this series is going to be Carey Price. Jack Campbell nearly outperformed Carey Price. The last game, he gets goalied. The whole team does. But wow, did he deserve a better effort? After everything he went through with his injuries, with his mental health, with everything. And you give him no goal support. You give him bad penalties. You give him this impossible task to lead you when you can't support yourselves. Like, this offense needs to score. How long were we going to rely on TJ Brody being the goal scorer, Jake Muzzin being the goal scorer, Jason Spezza being the goal scorer? Look back at the playoffs last year. Who scored? Nobody. That's why we lost. Look back a couple years ago. These guys don't know how to step up. And until this point, I always thought that that was just a headline, that the media was doing media things, that haters were just doing what they do. Maybe this is some sort of epiphany now. I don't know. I'm not giving up on the team. Honestly, this might sound stupid and cheesy, but part of me sees this as, you know, challenging my fandom. Are you going to stick with it? And yeah, of course I am. I'm a Leafs fan. We've been through hell and back. Although, like I said, this is the lowest point that it's ever been. With the best team that we've ever had, supposedly, we get the lowest point we'll ever reach. Now, the thing is, I know that one day the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to make it past the first round and make it far and win a Stanley Cup. One day. I'm not saying it's anytime soon, but one day. And I want to be able to pride myself in the fact that I stuck with the team throughout all the tough years. Now, the issue with that is there have been people watching since the 70s that have gone through a hell of a lot more than I have as a Leafs fan. And they're still saying that, thinking that this was the year it was going to change. But I do want to be able to say that I stuck with the team. I'm also allowed to stick with the team and have strong opinions about change, which needs to come. I don't know what. I don't have solutions. We just saw the Montreal Canadiens, who don't have a really massive contract on the team other than what I can think of as Carey Price, which paid off. But they've got the steadiness across the lineup, the ability to buy into a game plan and shut you down. Columbus had it last year. What big contract? And I'm starting to think that that's the way we got to go about things. I just don't know. I don't know. I'll go into more depth when I do come up with some solutions and some ideas. But for now, I'm just left with utter disappointment. Like, I feel devastated. This is a real low. But I challenge all of you, if you call yourself a Leafs fan yesterday, if you've called yourself a Leafs fan throughout this entire season, you need to call yourself a Leafs fan today, tomorrow, and every day moving forward. We've gone through a lot. There are teams out there that have gone through worse. It's going to happen one day. It's not going to be this team. It's not going to be this group. We learned that today. Should have learned that a couple years ago. But you know what? Things take time. We found out today and over the past week. It's not this group, but it will come. We saw the Raptors win a championship after 25 years, and they went through some bad stretches. And look how everybody celebrated. And I don't want to be one of those people that celebrates just because it happened. I want to be one of those people that celebrate because I was there throughout the entire way. Nav Bhatia, super fan, in the Hall of Fame now as a fan because he didn't miss a game for the Toronto Raptors, no matter how bad they were. I see myself the same way. I've got a jersey collection of 20 Leafs jerseys. My room is covered in Leafs everything. I know it's childish, but they're my life. I'm not going to change it now just because of this. It's tough. It's tough to swallow, and no answers. I want to hear from all of you. How do you feel? People are going to be heated. People are going to have some strong opinions. I'm ready for that. I don't blame you. If you feel like giving up on the team today, I don't blame you. But I ask that you don't, for your sake, not mine. Not for the team's sake. For your sake. Because like I said, when that day does come, we'll all feel better. I can guarantee it.